Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. This time, we're hitting the track. We're going to be exploring talent development, but specifically, we found this really cool case study. Imagine a club that just pumps out, like, amazing track and field athletes.
Yeah.
National team members, international competitors, just a constant flow of talent year after year.
Sounds pretty awesome, right?
It does. It sounds too good to be true.
Yeah.
But it's not fantasy. This is IFK Växjö, a Swedish track and field club. And they've been doing this for decades. Like, they've really cracked the code, and some researchers dug in to figure out how they do it.
Yeah.
And so today we get to unpack it all.
Yeah, this research really gets into it. It goes way beyond just the individuals. They really look at this thing called the athletic talent development environment, or the ATDE. So it's looking at the whole ecosystem that makes athletic success.
Oh, okay. So it's less about finding the next Usain Bolt and more about how do you build a system that creates this, like, fertile ground for talent.
Exactly. And they looked at it from both micro and macro levels. So really from the training environment all the way out to the community and the culture.
Okay, so 2 levels of insights. Let's start with micro. What's happening on the ground at this club that makes them so different?
One of the things that really stood out to me was their approach to groups and teams. It's not just the athletes who train together. They organize their coaching staff into teams as well.
Whoa, hold on. Coaching teams, that's kind of weird. Like, I feel like coaches would be more competitive. Like, these are my secrets. These are my methods.
You would think, right. But IFK Växjö is all about collaboration. They've got coaches with different skills, different experiences, all working together. And this is what one coach in the study called a competence culture. They support each other, they share their expertise, and they learn from each other.
Okay, so they're not lone wolves. They're like a pack.
Yeah.
They're all sharpening each other.
I like that. It's a powerful dynamic. And you know what else is really interesting? The elite athletes who are part of the club play a huge role in developing the younger athletes.
Oh, so like having role models right there, showing them what's possible.
Yeah, but it's more than just inspiration.
Like,
they're really active, they mentor them, they give guidance, and there's this real emphasis on giving back to the club.
okay, but I got to ask, like, does this actually happen? Or is this just a nice story?
Oh, it happens. In fact, the study even talks about Carolina Clift. I'm not sure if you're familiar.
Yeah.
She's a world champion heptathlete who came up through IFK Växjö. And get this, even on her honeymoon, she made time to attend a seminar for new coaches at the club.
Wow. Like a coaching seminar on your honeymoon. That says something.
It really does. I mean, can you imagine the impact that has on those young athletes?
Okay, so we've got coaches working together. We've got the elite athletes. What else is happening at that micro level?
Okay, here's another one that I thought was really, really cool. They actively nurture future coaches from their own athletes. So they encourage their young athletes to mentor even younger athletes.
So they're building this pipeline of coaching talent from inside.
Exactly. It's really smart, right? They know not everyone's going to become an elite athlete.
Right.
But that doesn't mean their passion for the sport has to end. It can be channeled into coaching.
Right, so you're planting those seeds for the future.
Yeah.
So it's about more than just individual achievements. It's about that culture of the club, continuing to grow. Okay, so that's the micro level, right? We've got this real clear picture of what's going on there. Now, I'm really curious about the macro level. So what's happening in the bigger picture that's contributing to their success?
Well, one of the key factors is their commitment to community collaboration. So they don't just operate in isolation. They're actively working with schools, high schools. There's even a national track and field high school in Växjö.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They work really closely with them.
So it's not just the club, it's this whole network.
Exactly, a network of support. And they make sure that athletic training is really integrated with the athletes' academics.
Yeah.
They even have these flexible exchanges of training opportunities between the club and the high school.
Okay, so it's a really collaborative system. Everyone's working together to support these athletes.
Exactly.
That's cool. Now, what about families? Where do they fit into all of this?
Family involvement is huge at IFK Växjö. And we're not just talking about, cheering from the sidelines.
Right.
Families are really involved in the club's operations.
Oh, interesting. So how does that actually work?
Well, you'll have parents who are coaches, others who are helping out with, logistics at competitions, all sorts of things. It's a real team effort.
Yeah. Everyone's pitching in.
Yeah, I can see how that would give everyone this feeling of ownership,
Absolutely. And it comes down to their philosophy, which is shared responsibility. So even small contributions are valued. They understand if everyone does a little, No one has to do a lot.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really good.
So we've talked micro, we've talked macro. We talked about how the coaches work. We talked about the community. We talked about the town. I'm really curious now about the culture. Like, what are the values that drive IFK Växjö? Like, what's their secret sauce?
That's where things get really, really interesting. One of the biggest findings was their culture of openness and cooperation.
Hmm.
And that's so fascinating because track and field, especially at the elite level, can be so secretive.
Oh, so like coaches are holding on to their training
And
methods.
totally. Yeah, it's like their top secret government documents. They see other coaches as rivals.
Oh, wow. So it's like protect your methods, protect what makes you special.
Exactly. But IFK Växjö totally flips that. They are all about sharing and collaborating, even with coaches from other clubs. They really believe in elevating the sport as a whole, not just their own wins.
But I got to ask, like, isn't there a risk in being so open? What if other clubs just copy them? Don't they worry about losing their edge?
Yeah. That's such a great question, and it's something that surprised the researchers too. But the thing is, IFK Växjö takes a different view. They believe in the process, not just the outcome.
So it's not about keeping secrets. It's about sharing the knowledge, sharing the journey.
Exactly. They're playing the long game. They're building a system that's sustainable.
That's cool. Okay, so they're open about their methods, but what about the athletes themselves? What kind of qualities do they look for?
Well, they definitely value talent, of course, but they put a huge emphasis on attitude, focus, discipline, and drive. In fact, those qualities are often prioritized over raw talent.
So it's not just about physical ability. It's about the mental side, that drive.
Exactly. They have a saying, attitude beats class, which really emphasizes that.
I like that.
That work ethic and a positive mindset, that's essential for success.
Yeah, it's not just about talent. It's about dedication.
Right. And this also ties into their holistic approach to developing these athletes. So they don't just see their athletes as competitors, they see them as individuals, people with lives outside of the track.
Yeah.
And they get that personal stuff can impact training and performance.
Oh, yeah?
So they work to support their athletes in dealing with those challenges.
So it's about nurturing the whole person, not just the athlete.
Exactly. It's building trust, mutual respect.
Yeah.
And that trust is crucial because they have this long-term vision.
Okay.
They don't prioritize early results. They're patient. They understand it takes time.
So it's a long game.
Absolutely.
Okay. But how do they measure success then if it's not all about, winning and medals?
That's a great question, and that's actually where things get even more interesting. So yeah, they celebrate achievements, but IFK Växjö takes a much broader view of success.
Okay, I like this. I'm hooked. So tell me, what else are they looking at beyond the podium finishes?
One key thing is how many of their athletes transition to elite sports. So they're not just focused on winning at the youth level.
Yeah.
They want to see them thriving at higher levels.
It's about building that career, that pathway.
Exactly. They're thinking about the athlete's entire journey.
That makes sense. What else?
They look at their reputation in the community. So, being seen as a positive force.
Yeah, so it's about more than just sports. It's about being part of the community.
Exactly. They understand they have an influence beyond just the track.
That's really good. So it's about athletic development. It's about the community. Is there anything else?
Well, they also look at how their prospects are performing in youth competitions. So they're not ignoring results.
Right.
But it's not the be-all and end-all.
Yeah, so it's about balance.
Exactly. Just one piece of the puzzle.
It's a big picture view. But, and I think this is the most important one, they really, really value athlete retention.
So it's not just attracting talent, it's keeping them engaged, keeping them committed to the sport.
So if those athletes are sticking around, it means they're having a good time and they feel supported.
Exactly.
That's a really good sign.
It speaks volumes about the culture they've built.
Yeah, it really does. Wow. We've unpacked so much about IFK Växjö already. I mean, from how they organize their coaching staff to their commitment to the community, their long-term vision.
It's really clear that their success is not an accident. It's this very intentional system.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
And I bet our listeners are already thinking about how they can apply this to their own coaching.
I'm sure they are, and that's actually what we're going to get into next.
Awesome. I'm excited to hear about that.
All right, so we've seen that IFK Växjö, they've got this really unique approach to talent development.
Yeah.
But how do we take that and make it practical? Like, how do coaches listening? How do they use these ideas?
Right, because we can all agree their system works, but what are the steps we can actually take, to apply these principles?
Exactly. Okay, so let's start with the most obvious one, which is community. IFK Växjö really shows us that a successful program, it's not just about the athletes.
Yeah.
It's about building a community, a shared purpose. It's about involving everyone, coaches, families, the wider community.
So like it takes a village kind of thing.
Exactly. And for coaches, that means thinking beyond just the practices, right?
Yeah.
How do you create those chances for your athletes to connect outside of training? Maybe it's team outings, volunteer projects, even just casual get-togethers.
Right.
Because a team that bonds well, it's going to perform better.
Yeah. It's about building those relationships, right? That team spirit. And I bet it makes it more fun too.
Absolutely. Now, another key thing we can learn from IFK Växjö is the power of collaboration. Like they've shown us that coaches don't have to work in isolation. They can work together, share their knowledge.
Right. You're talking about those coaching teams.
Yeah.
But honestly, it can sound kind of scary.
I know, right?
Like sharing your secrets, your methods.
I get it. It's definitely a different way of thinking. But think about it this way. You have your expertise. Other coaches have theirs.
Right.
Why not bring all of that together? You could start a coaches group, discuss challenges, share strategies, maybe even watch each other coach. You'd be surprised how much you can learn from each other.
Yeah, and you might even pick up some new drills or coaching techniques, It's like professional development.
Exactly. Speaking of learning, IFK Växjö has that culture of openness. Do you remember that story about the coach sharing Carolina Cliff's training plan?
Oh, yeah, that was wild.
They're not afraid to share, even with their competition. So how do coaches actually apply that?
Yeah, because we can't just hand over our playbooks.
No, of course not. It's more about changing your mindset. When you share what you know, it doesn't make you less of an expert. In fact, it can make you even better.
How so?
When you're open to dialogue, to new ideas, you're exposed to different perspectives. And that makes you a better coach.
So instead of seeing other coaches as threats, you see them as partners.
Exactly. And that can benefit everyone. Okay, here's a challenge for everyone listening.
Okay.
Think about something you've learned lately that's made you a better coach. Maybe a new technique, a way of communicating, whatever. Now share that with another coach.
I like that. It's a simple act, but it could really make a difference. Maybe it'll even start a more collaborative spirit. So as we finish up this deep dive, let's all take a minute and think about what IFK Växjö has taught us.
Right. Think about those key things, like how important community is, working together, being open, focusing on the long term.
Right.
And think about how you can use those in your own coaching.
You don't have to do exactly what they do. It's
Yeah.
about taking those ideas and making them work for you.
Yeah, it's about thinking, what do I want to leave behind in the sport? And then starting to make that happen.
This has been a really awesome deep dive, and I hope everyone listening feels inspired and has some new tools to make their coaching even better.
It's been great sharing all this with you, and I'm excited to see how it's going to make a difference.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of IFK Växjö. We'll be back soon with another one. Until then, keep learning, keep growing, and keep diving deep.